Hello everyone, welcome back. I got some really good ones for you today on this Monday, August 14th, 2023. A lot's been going on with the markets, economy, geopolitics lately, so I got a lot to get caught up on. Been about a month since my last video, sorry about that. Needed to unplug, kind of shift focus a little bit, took a little bit of a sabbatical. Okay, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. But I've been well and I hope the same for you. Got a lot planned for this episode because we really do got to get caught up. CEB2, shout out CEB2, what's up? You wanted me to do a video on the pandemic and my cleaning company and kind of how I navigated that. So I'll spend like the first half of this video kind of discussing that, sharing my thoughts and perspective on entrepreneurship and the pandemic. Then we'll shift focus to like markets and more current events, what's actually going on. And then we'll keep this momentum going, get back into, one or two videos a week kind of thing. So, sabbatical's over. But good to be back, and I'm glad we're together again. So, my cleaning company and the pandemic. Okay, CEB2 wants me to pick that scab off and get my channel shadow banned. The only reason I say this, I've already gotten community strikes, guys, talking about the virus. Saying anything, however benign, will get you banned. Because on these platforms, these are not free platforms, okay? You don't have the First Amendment here. YouTube's owned by Google. Google's the, cornerstone of the Beast system. So, Beast system approved narratives only, right? But I might break with that a little bit, so make sure if you get something out of this video, you like it, because there's a good chance it might get shadow banned. But hey, I would rather be the line than push the line, you know what I mean? I'm gonna speak truth to power, all right? And we're gonna dig that trauma up and kind of summarize everything. So let's rewind back to 2019. In 2019, no pandemic, I had a commercial cleaning company, 6 accounts, bars and restaurants. So a lot of early mornings, waking up, going in, just commercial janitorial. I did a little bit of residential work, so carpet, tile, grout, upholstery, area rugs, vehicles, move-in cleans, move-outs, post-construction cleanup, high dusting, pressure washing. There's a lot of like little niches, little niche going on in the cleaning game, but I kind of ended up just focusing on mainly commercial janitorial. So in 2019, things were going pretty good for me. I'd say at the high water mark, doing about $10,000 a month. That's just gross revenue. It's not net, okay? So it's just gross, meaning I wasn't taking home $10,000 a month, but not too shabby for a small operation you started when you were 26. And it was, paying my bills, and I was onboarding new clients and, making things work for myself. And I'd say it really was. However, by 2020, January 2020, the beginning of January 2020 is really where my story begins. On like January 5th or 6th, I was working and I wasn't really feeling that well. I wasn't full on sick, okay? I didn't have a temperature. I wouldn't call it sick, but I just felt like a little weird. I look over at my contractor and he's kind of dragging ass, and I was like, "Are you sick?" And he was like, "No, I'm not sick." And I was like, "Yeah, but you don't feel good." And he was like, "No, not really." And I'm like, yeah, there's something weird. And so what I'm getting at is, I think in January of 2020, before people really were even talking about the virus, I think I got it. Otherwise, though, I never had COVID. Ever since we knew about it, I never caught COVID. I never took the vaccine, so there you go. I'll explain myself, though. Please bear with me. Also, if I say something that you don't like, we still gotta be able to be friends, okay? If you don't agree with some of the things that I'm about to say, hey, that's totally fine. And I hope that you continue to come back to the channel and we can have differences, but discuss these things and carry on with the plan of life, as opposed to like, being too afraid to talk about something. I mean, guys, that gets into some pretty dangerous territory. So, I'm gonna air it out. So in 2020, I wasn't feeling well like January 5th or 6th. Wasn't really sick though, but it was kind of weird. And I'm starting to get the idea that, it was already spreading. By the end of January, I started reading these headlines that are like, January 24th or 25th, I found all these headlines about, this sickness spreading in Wuhan. I was aware that Wuhan is the size of Chicago, so, quite a few million people. I was, some of the data points were like 36,000 people are leaving Wuhan a day. So I figured, well, they're bricking roads and cities and like welding people into their rooms and stuff. And whatever that is, it's probably on its way here, if it's not here already. And I remember becoming pretty frustrated because I would like text my managers of these accounts and like text the people that I was working with, and we'd like have these discussions, and people wanted nothing to do with it because the headlines in January 2020 were Jessica Simpson's getting sober and Kobe Bryant just had a helicopter crash. Now, those are horrible tragedies, but I was getting very frustrated between the program everyone was on and then all this information that I'm getting out of Wuhan. So from January 25th, I was kind of raising my awareness, and lo and behold, the government wouldn't do anything about it until March 15th, like St. Patty's Day is when we shut things down. I mean, by that point, it's like, okay, well, what's the point of shutting it down now? It's already been circulating for like 100 days. Like, oh, now you're going to do something, this really delayed response. And I remember Larry Kudlow, Trump's economic advisor, saying like, oh, the economy is contained and the coronavirus is contained and the economy is holding up nicely. Like, that was a direct quote. The coronavirus is contained and the economy is holding up nicely. Things couldn't have been further from the truth. By the end of March, the stock market, Dow Jones hanging out around 28,000, started to try to, in a forward-looking manner, price in this coming pandemic. So it really started to buckle. And we saw the stock market in end of March after all the senators and congressmen sold their stocks and dumped all their companies that had exposure to China. When we saw that, the Dow Jones fell to about 18,000. We were in for a pretty rough recession. But then, and we had one, okay? But at the end of March, the Fed launched the CARES Act. They dropped interest rates from an already very low level. That 10 years prior to 2020, the Fed was supposed to be raising interest rates, and they just sort of forgot because it was nice to be able to just blow a bunch of asset bubbles. So when the Fed was in a position where they were supposed to be normalizing policy and interest rates, they run into this virus. And that's how I knew the bottom was going to fall out of the dollar, because I knew that the Fed was supposed to be raising interest rates in 2020, and they had only risen them to maybe 1.25%. Then they had to cut them right back down to zero and add 40% to the money supply via the CARES Act. When that happens, I picked up the phone and started talking to other business owners, some of my colleagues. We have lunch together, kick each other work, contract each other, subcontract, whatever. Started telling them, man, I am very bearish on the real economy. So like with this whole lockdown and what's about to happen to like businesses and bars and restaurants and cleaning companies and wage earners, I'm very worried and bearish about what's happening to them. But they just added 40% of the money supply. So I'm hyper bullish. Bitcoin, gold, energy stocks, high growth tech stocks. So as soon as the Dow Jones fell to 18,000 in like March of 2020, the market cried uncle. Ah! And then the Fed came out and printed infinity dollars to kind of prop everything back up. And I knew the knock-on effects of that policy would result in a ton of inflation. It's one of the reasons I started this channel. So I started telling everybody I knew, like, dude, you got to raise your prices. But the problem is a lot of these bars and restaurants and cleaning companies, anyone with a truck and a ladder has one of these companies. And so the markets are already very saturated and otherwise ignore asset prices like real estate in the stock market. I knew they weren't going to raise their prices, especially because their world was deflationary and deflating, like everyone was locked in their homes. But then the financial system was like hyperinflating. So when the Dow Jones bottomed around 18,000 in April of 2020, and they launched the CARES Act that morning, I became very bullish on markets because I was like, dude, all of this missing growth is going to be thrown onto the back of an already weak dollar, and they're just about to flush the middle class and wage earners and dollar down the toilet on the back of an already weak dollar for a decade. So look out. We're about to get hit with a tsunami of inflation. And we did, okay? So over the last 3 years, they've added 40% to the money supply, and what have groceries and gas and real estate and the stock market done, and gold and Bitcoin? About 40%, give or take. So, the Fed, it was a psyop, and it was a really hard sell that the Fed was going to add 40% to the money supply, and then that wasn't going to create inflation. I was like, it totally is, and they're pushing this lie so hard now. I'm even more convinced it's going to create a lot of inflation, and it did. And they wanted to say it wasn't going to create inflation because they want to live in like this weird world where they can add 40% to the money supply, give themselves and their homies a few $1 trillion, but then say, oh, well, none of this money ever enters the real economy because it's bank reserves, and bank reserves aren't real dollars. That is not how that works. Those are dollars. They're sitting on institutional balance sheets. Somebody owns those dollars. Those dollars will move. When they move, money velocity will increase, catch up to money supply, and you're going to get like hyperinflation. We didn't get hyperinflation, but we got some immense inflation. Then in 2020 we saw, or 2022 we saw, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, like the tech moguls and the billionaires. They did finally get their little 50% drawdown, but I mean, how long did it last? Because as soon as Kramer came out in November of 2022 and at NASDAQ 10,000 said to recession-proof your portfolio and dump all your high-growth tech, I came out here and did the video, Inverse Kramer, 74 recession. It was like November of last year. Go check it out. I said, at this very moment that the mainstream is telling you to dump all your high-growth tech, go long high-growth tech. Flip the tables on them. Inverse Kramer. And that play worked out beautifully. So as you can see, guys, I don't really have a lot of trust in the powers that be, but I've kind of illustrated for you. I've had a front row seat to all these policies and their knock-on effects, and I was calling it out in real time, and it was super frustrating. It wasn't like I was just waiting to react to all of this, Which kind of brings me to more or less focusing on the virus. I already had trust issues going into this, so when the government showed up 100 days late to the virus, then tried to lock everybody down, then printed unlimited money for them and their homies, they announced they were going to come out with a vaccine, and now we're going to vaccinate our way out of this pandemic, which really freaked me out even more, given that I've had 1 million vaccines, guys. I've had 1 million of these things. When I was in the military, I've had the entire anthrax shot series. It's like 6 anthrax shots that light your whole body on fire. I got the smallpox vaccine. You might be able to see some scarring there. See that scar, that circular scar with all the bumps on it? That's a smallpox vaccination. That's a smallpox scar. Because although, your typical millennial doesn't really get inoculated for smallpox, the military does. Because although we've quote unquote eradicated it, Russia still keeps smallpox militarized in their freezers. The United States government still keeps smallpox. They keep it in a freezer somewhere, and then they tell everyone, don't worry, it's extinct, but then they weaponize it, you see? So you got to take the smallpox vaccination. I think a lot of boomers have taken the smallpox vaccine as well. They take this little needle. It's kind of gnarly. They dip it in, damaged version of the virus, which I'm not too against as far as inoculation. I mean, it makes sense. If you take a virus, handicap it, so you chop its legs or its wee-wee off or whatever, and then you inject it, well, it gets into your body. Your body says, what the heck? But the virus isn't able to really do a lot because it's been handicapped. So your body's able to blueprint an immunity, you're fine. But they take this little smallpox needle and they jab you like 12 or 16 times, and then you grow essentially a smallpox boil that scabs over and peels off. And then they tell you don't wipe your eyes or something because you might get smallpox in your eyes. Like it was ridiculous. So they shot us up with everything, guys. Everything under the sun. I remember one time in boot camp, they had this row of people that would shoot you in both arms. So you just walk through and you're like, ow, 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 both arms. I remember looking to the guy behind me and he was like, just oil and robots, bro, just oil and robots. And that, that's kind of how vaccine policies in the eyes of the government should go. Just oil the robots, you know what I mean? So at the end of that line too, you get jabbed like 50 times, you put your hands against the wall. Well, you drop your pants, put your hands against the wall, and then they shoot you in the butt with a peanut butter shot. It's a penicillin shot. A thick needle, thick serum, and they just push that peanut butter into your booty after you've already been inoculated with God knows what. I mean, they didn't even tell us half the time what we were getting. They would just shoot you up with it. So I was fully aware of whatever's Big Pharma's camel's nose that got under the tent and made sure the entire military gets the vaccine schedule like 10 times in a row. I was already hip and privy to that, and I already had my doubts about whether or not it worked. I mean, you know, in the military, they made us take blacklisted medications, okay? I took medications in the military that are now blacklisted. Look up methylquin. When I was in Afghanistan, they made you take this anti-malarial. It was called Methylquin Monday. We take it, you trip. Like you have an LSD or a shroom trip. You know, we started to look forward to Malaria Monday because it was damn near recreational, the intense response that you'd get. Lo and behold, they blacklisted it. I go on my second deployment to Helmand. I say, where's the methylquin at? Because I'm ready to have fun, man. I'm ready to do drugs because that's what this anti-malarial is. And they said, no, we moved on to doxycycline. We blacklisted that methylquin stuff you were taking because some dude at Fort Bragg just chopped his family into bite-sized pieces with a hatchet, just completely destroyed his family with a hatchet. And they believed that he had a psychological effect because 1 in every 10,000 people that takes methylquin goes freaking crazy and acts as their family. And I was like, damn, you've been giving that to everybody this entire time? That's pretty wild. So I took methylquin on my first deployment and doxycycline on my second. And that same level of coercion you guys saw with the vaccine mandates was present in the military. They said if you got malaria, it's because you weren't taking your anti-malarial and you're going to get charged for that. So they were forcing me to take blacklisted medications after giving me the entire anthrax shot series. Yeah, get real, you know. So I was already like, I was already suspect, you know, about the virus and then the ensuing squashing of dissent and the level of censorship. You know, I was censored, my Facebook was censored. You get these emails, you've gone against our community guidelines, you got to strike. You know, and you're getting shadow banned when that happens. So like I said, hopefully I don't shadow ban myself in this video just trying to I don't know, throw little red pills in your mouth. But I'm not gonna come out here and just blow smoke and not give you guys my framework and what I really believe and not offer you my perspective. I'm totally gonna do that, and we're gonna hope for the best. But I had trust issues, you guys, about vaccinating our way out of this pandemic. I mean, I did decide though I was gonna take JJ, but then they pulled that one. And the only reason I was gonna take JJ is because it's not, I didn't think it was messenger RNA or mod RNA or what, you know, that M part of RNA has changed. It's like, is it messenger RNA? Is it mod RNA? Like, what is it? And I didn't have warm fuzzies about this mRNA technology that's only been out for a few years. The animal studies didn't go well. The human trials are pretty much non-existent. And the company pushing it is Moderna with 0 FDA-approved drugs other than the vaccine now. That's their one drug. So they picked a company to save the world that's never sold drugs before with an unsparing CEO, Moderna, that was started in 2016. And then JJ, I was gonna put my faith on, but lo and behold, it's mRNA anyway. So when I thought I was avoiding mRNA at a doctor's recommendation, when I thought I was avoiding mRNA with the JJ, they pulled it before I could get it anyway. So I'm glad I didn't get it, and it sucks if you took JJ and then they pulled it, because now it's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe good luck. Same with AstraZeneca, you know. A lot, you know, I did dry runs in the military. We do combined arms exercises. People died. The government is incapable of valuing human life, okay? You gotta have that as a basic assumption. Always has been, always will be. The government doesn't care about individual people and their vaccine allergy, you know? Why would they try to inject 7 billion people at once anyway? Who's it a test for if everyone's gonna take it? There were just so many red flags, and then given my experience, you add it all up, and I smelled DOD operation the entire time. So I had trust issues. They pulled AstraZeneca, they pulled JJ, they put a bat on your quarter. That's tiny, but I mean, add it up, guys. Instead of a bald eagle on your bat in 2020, or instead of a bald eagle on your quarter in 2020, it was a bat. Okay, it was a fruit bat on your quarter. And maybe that's not a good reason, like that's just purely circumstantial and coincidence, but I don't know. Like, when it comes to conspiracies, I actually assume whatever you can dream up, the reality is actually way worse. They're way more creative and powerful than you could imagine. Just my experiences and observations, though. I mean, but how is it a test if everyone's got to take it? You know what I mean? The hospital ship. Guys, I've been on ship. I'll probably do an entire video on ship life. It's horrible. They're floating petri dishes. If I was sick and somebody told me to get on the hospital ship, I'd be like, dude, no, pitch a tent over there and like bring me some multivitamins. I'm not getting on the floating petri dish. If you weren't sick before you got on the hospital ship, you're probably going to get sick. I mean, I've spent weeks and weeks at sea with the Marine Corps on ship. Ship life is horrible, guys. I remember saying I would rather bounce a basketball through a minefield in Afghanistan than be on the ship another minute, you know? And I meant that after having been to Afghanistan twice. I was sitting there like, dude, let me be a desert rat, man. This is not for me. Sickness was everywhere on those ships. I remember going into the bathroom, and you would see as the ship would rock back and forth, just poo and stuff sloshing out of the clogged toilets. Guys, it was horrible. So if you didn't catch something before you got on a ship, you certainly do. You certainly leave in the ship with something, you know what I mean? So the optics around just even little things like the hospital ship, I was like, no, that's ridiculous. And then the ventilators, you know, when they were pushing the ventilators, if you Googled what % of people on ventilators, you know, don't come off of them, they essentially die on them. It was like 50% then. That wasn't like a big secret. So it's like, dude, if they hooked you up to a ventilator, it's like you're flipping a coin now that you even live. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I understand like all this was you know, the information in real time was, you know, it was a moving target. We could, you know, everyone was just doing the best they could with what they had, but there is such a thing as like institutional inertia. You know, these people that a lot of people pedestalize, like these specialties, these doctors, accountants, lawyer. It's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect, guys. Like the longer somebody is practicing medicine, the more they're gonna be like, I don't know, it's more complicated than you think. It's really those 1-2 year medical residents that have all the confidence in the world and are like, yeah, I totally get it. And then they have a moment of awakening, and then they spend, you know, the next 10 years actually becoming an expert. And if you ask an expert about a lot of weird things like markets or vaccines or, you know, a lot of specialties, they'll tell you the longer they spend in that specialty, the more they don't know, and the more they appreciate complexity, and the more they understand maybe they don't have all the answers. And so, you know, I was kind of aware of all that. I wasn't like pedestalizing the medical and big pharma people. I didn't really even trust them going into it, you know. And as a business owner, half the time I feel like I have imposter syndrome and am making things up as I go. So can you apply that to everyone else? Like people, they don't really have the answers often that you're looking for, you know. But will the government not let a good crisis go to waste? Yeah, absolutely. They jumped on that like nothing else. They jumped right on it, you know, locked you down, added 40% of the money supply, destroyed the small businesses, you know, bought a bunch of corporate debt, essentially a fascist takeover, okay? That's fascism. When the government starts to buy corporate debt, that's the definition of fascism. I'm not being obtuse. And then with the PPP and the, you know, no one has to pay rent. Okay, well, that was, you know, socialism. So we had like these weird power structures, man, coming out of the woodwork to practice their fascism or their socialism. And I never had any part in any of that. You know, I lost my mind watching all that unfold in real time. You know, it was pretty crazy. You know, so the suppression of information around hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. You know, ivermectin, 60-year safety profile already given to millions and millions of people. Problem is, Big Pharma's not going to make any money on it. But they were sending that stuff by the boatload to Africa for free to treat river blindness, and you had millions of people taking this stuff, billions of doses administered. But we wanted to essentially just censor and squash anyone that wanted to talk about a free, cheap alternative and way out of this. It's like, no, we're not having that conversation. You're taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these jabs, and you're gonna shut up and you're gonna like it. It's like, dude, that's not democracy. And it's not science either. If science is the consensus to you, okay, well then you're just the late adopter on every revolution. At one point you thought the Earth was the center of the solar system. At one point, you know what I mean? Like at some point when there's new science and we make it to the next level, there's still a small percentage of people that are on board with that. And you have to convince, the rest of the people that they're wrong. And so science isn't even necessarily consensus. Be careful with that. You got Neil deGrasse Tyson. Well, science to me is just the average of what everyone thinks. Dude, then you're behind the curve all the time and incapable of critical thinking and formulating your own opinion. Congratulations. Enjoy the check from Pfizer. You know what I mean? Who, by the way, the CEO of Pfizer, Barula, he's a veterinarian. He's not a doctor. Look that up. He's a veterinarian. And ivermectin's horse paste, right? So you see the irony in all this? So a million red flags, you guys. They didn't even test for transmissibility. So the whole altruistic argument you could make, like, well, you need to take it to show that you're keeping your community safe. It doesn't work. It didn't. Dude, if you took the vaccine, and if anything, it suppressed your symptoms, right? So you don't think you're sick. So you did go to work and you gave it to everybody. So if anything, not testing for transmissibility allowed that to spread through the population like a wildfire, And if they were going to mandate 7 billion people take this, if Bill Gates, who sells personal computers, is going to mandate that 7 billion of you take it now that he's the czar of Big Pharma, he's their king of Big Pharma. Well, if he's going to have you take it, well, that was going to tell me right there then either it's just a self-directed population control measure because there's no control group. Like, who's going to be the control group? So I kind of volunteered myself for the control. And hey, I never got COVID that I know of. Maybe I got it in the first few days of January before we even knew about it. I kind of think maybe I did, but I was one of those like no symptoms really, or asymptomatic ultimately. And I already had my immunity, So if everyone's got to take it, it's not a test, but it is a test, and so who's the control? And then that leads itself to believe there are probably 30% of you who think you got vaccinated got saline, because there probably was a control. Who knows? They won't tell you. They won't even tell you what's in the stuff. It came with a blank package insert. An mRNA technology. Like, dude, I don't even trust the new iPhone. I don't even trust the new Xbox. They got to work the kinks out. They messed up the antenna. The controller doesn't work correctly. It always takes like a few iterations to get it right. And they wanted to go from 0 to 100 in 7 months when this should take 7 years. And then they wanted to give it to 7 billion people. And it was free. Man, it smelled like a DOD operation. Then they gave themselves full liability protection. So now it's like, dude, I already didn't have faith in this. Now I really don't have faith in this. Then you got DMX, Damar Hamlin, Bob Saget, Elon Musk, Ice Cube, Jamie Foxx, Eric Clapton, Joe Rogan, Jessica Sutta, Jimmy Dore, Elon Musk, Justin Bieber, all running into some kind of health complication or controversy. So, the list of celebrities, albeit suppressed, continues to grow regularly. I don't know what's going on with Jamie Foxx. I don't know. But it's freaky stuff. I do know Elon Musk said, I got vaccine injured. I do know that. And that's in the public sphere, That's just facts of life. The dude was like, that thing almost killed me, Ice Cube, kind of like me, just got completely dragged for it and excommunicated for going against the grain. But, he didn't want to go along with Hollywood injecting everyone. And I respect him more for it. Aaron Rodgers, same kind of story, Like, I remember the morning Aaron Rodgers came out, I was like, look, Aaron Rodgers is out red pilling all the normies. Like, welcome, brother. He's on our side now. But guys, also, like, again, it's not, red versus blue, black and white. Like, we really do just need to be able to talk about these things. And if you think vaccination is something, like maybe you're a 70-year-old man listening to this right now. Well, you're in the risk category. I might have a different recommendation if I were older, but ultimately we all have to make the decision. So if you got jabbed up and you plan on getting jabbed up again, you think it's working, hey, more power to you, and I am not your enemy. But do you see how I just had some experiences and perspectives and opinions of my own and some things I wanted to point out? And even if I talked about it on my YouTube channel, which I have, I'd get these community strikes. So this is probably going to be a third strike for me. I hope not, but and now we're dealing with these excess deaths, right? So who knows, but I'm heart healthy. I'm 33. I'm unvaccinated. I'm not convinced I ever even had COVID, and I'm not interested in these vaccinations or these boosters, and I've already been vaccinated with everything under the sun to include anthrax and smallpox, and you know what? I don't think it was for the better. I don't. I think it jacked me up. So I definitely wasn't going to take this brand new mRNA technology from Moderna, which is like a brand new company. What is this, the movie Armageddon? Like, you're going to hire some oil rig workers to go saw an asteroid in half or something? Like, you're going to hire this pharma company that doesn't even sell drugs to save the planet? Fishy. So it got weird. but ultimately, back to kind of how entrepreneurs navigated the pandemic, to kind of wrap things up so we can carry on with this. If you had 10 accounts, keep the 6 that are really juicy margins, really the juice is worth the squeeze, really getting you somewhere, helping your business. Keep them, protect them, stay close to them. Maybe turn up your prices a little on them because you have no choice. You know, my insurance costs are going up. Like, it's not like small businesses are the ones spearheading the inflation. No, that's the financial system that's already put the stock market near all-time highs, real estate at all-time highs, Bitcoin at like 30,000. That's your inflation rate, and it's getting completely out of control. So you have to raise prices to keep up. But you maybe keep the 6 accounts out of 10 that you really liked and dump the 4 that were just to help grow your top line, and really the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, but hey, you liked the money and you liked staying busy. You got rid of them. So really it was about saving your margins and really not worrying about so much the top line, just preserving those margins, getting your expenses down, inflating your way out of it. If your market was broken, like if you're in, cleaning or restaurant world where everyone with a truck and a ladder is able to do it, well, it's pretty saturated, and those people aren't going to really raise their prices. They're going to, if anything, pretend like Bitcoin and the stock market doesn't exist, and they're going to keep their prices the same while everyone else gets flushed down the toilet, along with the wage earners who are making $15 an hour. And they're bag holding for the missing growth now. That's on them. Now they can barely eat, and that's not by accident. It was to keep the elites eating, keep the markets inflated, and you're just going to need to shit or get off the pot when it comes to raising your prices and raising your wage, and that's horrible because a lot of these, like I said, a lot of these companies and workers, they don't have a lot of bargaining power. So, when all this started, I was like, I know what's going to happen. The policymakers who are holding all the chips are going to flush the working class and the people with no bargaining power down the toilet, and then they're going to lie to them about inflation, and they're going to pump their markets. That's exactly what they did. So, inflate or die. That's how you navigated the pandemic. Still have McLean & Company, still have that LLC, started another LLC in 2021. So guys, try not to be too spun up and cynical about it. I know I'm like picking the scab here talking about this stuff, but hey, CEB2, you asked for this. No, I'm happy to talk about it. You guys are awesome. So it was rough, okay? It was really rough. But do I recommend you start your own business and be industrious and kind of make your own money and cut out the middleman? Absolutely. And am I going to continue to do that? Absolutely. But were there other opportunities, like in markets, like at Bitcoin 10,000? I bought Bitcoin at 10,400. That was my first buy, and Ethereum was 327. Shout out to my buddy Ryan. We bought Ethereum at like 327. We bought it kind of making fun of it, like, oh, what is this crypto stuff? And then, dude, it was pretty epic. So, there were opportunities, and I started this channel to seize on those opportunities too. And I hope I've been able to give you guys a lot of really useful information. So that's kind of my cleaning company in the pandemic and how I navigated all that. Pretty crazy stuff. This video's getting pretty long already, so we're gonna just touch on the other things, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. But markets, right? So today I'm seeing that 10-year yield at like 4.15% in the bond market. We look at the bond market first, the US bond market, because it's the biggest market on planet Earth. It's like, 3-4 times the size of the stock market and the real estate markets. Like, the bond market's the mother of all markets, right? And I look at the 10-year yield and I see 4.15%, and that's a little high for my liking. So I'm thinking right now with markets, if the 10-year yield keeps going up, it's gonna push the stock market, energy stocks, crypto, gold down. And then on the flip side of that, if that 10-year yield right now at 4.15% starts to come down, maybe drops below 4% again, then onwards and upwards for risk assets like the stock market, crypto, energy, high growth tech. So, maybe we're in a position right now where we're supposed to be buying less of our favorite apex assets like Google, Amazon, Bitcoin, gold coins. Like maybe we're supposed to be buying less right now, but I would not say markets are about to crash. And I would not say you should run out and sell everything and move to dollars, because we've already discussed ad nauseum what they do to your dollars as soon as something goes wrong. So, maybe just kind of riding the waves, right? We've enjoyed, since starting this channel, high growth tech, precious metals, crypto, mega cap energy stocks. And, that to me, in my opinion, it could totally be wrong, continues to be the place to be. Just maybe you're in for a little bit of a dip, and then you wait for the dip and you kind of buy it. Gold's down there at 1900. Not really down there, but it's taking a little bit of a breather. No one's talking about it. No headlines are like, gold's regaining its shine, it's getting its shine back, it's regaining its luster. None of that. So maybe you could swoop in the back door, acquire some physical gold coins, go tuck them away or whatever, or not. I'm liking Bitcoin at 30,000. I'm liking some of the beaten down altcoins, all right? I bought some Render the other day at like 168, RNDR. It's like a little graphics processing altcoin you can check out, Render. JJ Abrams is into it. I don't know. High risk though, so just telling you what I'm kind of into. But I like high growth tech. So you have like Meta, Amazon, Apple, Google, Oracle, Tesla. I like the high growth tech stocks. Nothing's changed there. I like mega cap energy, so like Exxon, Chevron, BP, Halliburton. I like physical precious metals for stacking, no derivatives, no gold stocks or mining stocks, just little physical gold and silver coins if you're into that kind of thing. If not, whatever. And I like Bitcoin, and I like Ethereum. I like Uniswap. I like Chainlink. I like Matic. I like Pepe, all right? Low-key, I love Pepe coin, but not going to shill a meme coin, all right? I'm resisting the temptation to shill a meme coin to you guys, but I really like Pepe. So that's kind of your update on markets. Michael Burry did just put on a $1.6 billion short position, I believe. So you could look that up. He's betting against the market. The guy who called out the big short in 2008 made a bunch of money there. He's betting against the markets again. But just because Michael Burry's betting against the markets doesn't mean you should too. Because if I recall correctly, about 4 months ago, Michael Burry came out, bet against the markets, got all these retail traders and investors saying, oh, the big short guy's back, short the markets, got his face ripped off. Michael Burry was wrong this entire year so far. So, maybe he's shorting the market with another 1.6 billion, and he's about to get his face ripped off again. So, something to look at. Everyone's definitely paying attention to it. But also, if everyone's paying attention to it, it's not the big short. Everyone's saying, oh, the big short's back. No one knew it when the big short happened. The whole idea of the big short is a very small percentage of market participants knew the housing market was going to crash, a very asymmetrical trade opportunity. And those come very rarely. And nobody saw it coming till it happened. And so now if everyone's saying, oh, Michael Burry, the big short guy, he's calling it, and we're all screaming from a rooftop to include all like the college kids, hey, this is your chance for the big short. Well, it's not, because everyone knows about it. It's that argument kind of imploded on itself. If everyone says Michael Burry shorting the market, time to short the market, it's not really contrarian. It's not a big asymmetrical trade opportunity you're about to make a ton of money on, because everybody's watching it. So I think Michael Burry, honestly, I don't put a lot of weight on what he says. He's a smart guy, obviously, made billions of dollars during the housing market collapse. Popularized too by the movie The Big Short. Michael Burry's in that movie with Scion Capital. But he's out here shorting the market today. Cool. He was shorting the market a few months ago. Totally wrong. Got his face ripped off. And then he was wrong for a while this year. Like, he would keep coming out and like tweeting and then deleting it. And it's just like, bro, you are so off your game. Go take a vacation. So anyway, that guy is saying to short the market again. We'll see. I did have to write things down, guys, because we had so much to discuss today. Normally, I just kind of do conscious streams off the top, right? But so much going on. So there's your little market update. Hawaii fires, super sad, guys. The fires in Maui. Oh my gosh, super sad. I lived in Hawaii for 4 years. I was stationed there in Oahu from 2009 to 2013. I've been to the Big Island. I've been to Kauai. I spent 4 years in Oahu. I've been to some of the other smaller islands off the coast of Oahu, like the little bird islands, like off Kailua Beach. You can take kayaks from Kailua Beach out to these little bird islands. They're just tiny little islands, but they're cool. You can go walk around on them. So, I spent a fair amount of time in the Hawaiian island chain. I'm very enamored with the islands. I like to learn about them. I like studying Niihau, the Forbidden Island. Look up the Forbidden Island. There are islands where they have native populations living there in the traditional way with very little like running water and utilities, and then like a billionaire owns the island and he lets the native Hawaiians stay there, and you're not allowed to go. It's it's totally off limits. Maybe only helicopter tours are allowed to the forbidden island of Niihau. So look that up, it's really interesting. Look up Lanai, owned by a billionaire. Oracle, one of the co-founders of Oracle, bought Lanai, so it's owned by a billionaire. It's right across from Maui. Right across from those fires is Lanai, owned 98% of the island, owned by a billionaire. Like photography is restricted there because it's a private island. It's really interesting, guys. So, Hawaii is a very isolated and interesting place, and I feel horrible about those fires. It is very dry there right now. I remember always in January, it'd be super rainy, like winter, like Christmas time, winter was like the rainy season in Hawaii. So it'd rain all the time. It was very green and very lush. Well, right now we're in August, which is pretty much their dry season. It gets very dry there. So it's dry with high winds. And then we're hearing this fire was either started by down power lines or a directional energy weapon, a DEW, which we'll touch on that. That's kind of what the conspiracy theorists are peddling. I'm not going to come out here and say it was a DEW, a directed energy weapon, but we will float the idea. So some down power lines or a directional energy weapon, set fire to this really dry island of Maui with these like some 26% of the island has invasive grass species. Although I've always been suspect about what is an invasive species because everything came from somewhere else. So I don't know who gets to draw the line on like what a fixed environment, a fixed ecosystem is, when no ecosystem is like a closed ecosystem. They're all open. Like zebra clams are all over the Great Lakes now, and you could be like, well, they're invasive. Yeah, well, they're here now. So I guess now they live there. You know what I mean? Like, it's always weird. It's like, no, that doesn't belong here. It's like, dude, do you live in do you have this paradigm in your head where like everything is and stays always? It's like, how'd the animal even get here to begin with? Like, these Hawaiian islands were just volcanoes that were happening underwater that built this volcanic rock that poked out of the water, and then a bunch of birds pooped on it, and some plants sprouted out from it. And then, okay, well, is that invasive? Hey, there's not supposed to be anything on the Hawaiian Islands. Well, how come the birds are pooping on rocks and creating sprouting seeds? These seeds, they came from Thailand. They came from Siberia. They're not allowed to be here. And it's true story. A lot of the birds in Hawaii, which are migratory, were super cool, by the way. I loved the birds in Hawaii. There's so many cool types. Some of them would be from Siberia. There was like this spotted seagull. It's Siberian. They fly there. They're synced up with the birds. They have the migratory patterns between like Hawaii and Siberia, Russia. So get all these birds coming and going. Really interesting. But anyway, back to these horrible fires. Not a lot of warning. Not a lot of heads up. Looks like the number of people that have died, last time I checked, was about 96, but they're estimating this could go up to like 400 or 500. So, guys, super sad. Okay, a lot of the kids were home from school that day, so I imagine a lot of residents were just in their home with no warning, and if parents aren't home from work or whatever, people are probably just staying put, and until they're forced to run. I mean, just complete chaos, guys. So worst case scenario for these fires in Maui in many ways, and it is suspect. I'm not saying it is circumstantial, but all the billionaires that own half of that island, they last time I checked, their properties were fine. There's some weird power structures in Hawaii, guys. You really got to be aware of that. But I hope the government moves quickly, both state and federal, on getting supplies to the victims. It sounds like, though, a lot of these bureaucracies have put the cart in front of the horse and they're kind of jammed up. So it's hard to help these victims now. People swimming out into the ocean to get away from the fires. Guys, that's horrible stuff. So that has been just, pray for the victims who've lost everything. Pray for the first responders. Okay, pray for the Hawaiian people. Horrible tragedy, but we can't not discuss it. All right. Oof, I don't like talking about the fires, guys. I really did enjoy living in Hawaii too. Really magical place, you guys. Very magical place. So Google Forbidden Island, Google Lanai, Google Pearl Harbor. You know, Pearl Harbor's right there in Honolulu on Oahu. Oahu is where I was. People might think, oh, Honolulu, that's where the biggest island, the biggest city would be on the biggest island. No, the big island doesn't really even have that many people. It's a very interesting island chain. And then you have like Midway Island way out there. You have like the northern Hawaiian Islands, which are a lot smaller, but they're totally there and you can read all about them. It's crazy. I was doing a deep dive on those obscure islands the other day, like Midway and Cure, like Kure is the spelling, island way out there. Tern Island, Tern, like some weird little islands poking out north of the major big Hawaiian islands. There's those islands continue all, pretty far out. So a lot to study there, guys. Very interesting. Another island chain I'd like to bring to you guys' attention is the Aleutian Islands. Okay, I do believe there's tensions growing between Russia and the United States over the Aleutian Islands, and the Aleutian Islands have a very interesting and unique history as well. Google Attu Island, Battle of Attu. The day Pearl Harbor got bombed, which is in near Honolulu, Hawaii, on the island of Oahu. The day Pearl Harbor got bombed, Dutch Harbor and the Aleutian Islands also got bombed. And the Japanese military did occupy the Aleutian Islands during World War II. And there was a Japanese bonsai charge on U.S. soil. People don't know that. But the Battle of Attu was in Alaska, and you had ground forces fighting each other. A lot of really rich history in these otherwise really sparsely populated remote areas. So, learn about the Hawaiian island chain. There's so much there. And then also shift your focus up to the Aleutian Islands, which I'm totally enamored with. I've been to Alaska. I've been to Juneau, Ketchikan, Seward, Skagway, Denali, Fairbanks, Anchorage. Been to all those places. But I haven't been out to the Aleutian Islands. My favorite Aleutian Island that I really wish I could go visit, and you guys should totally check this out, it's super weird. Umnak Island, Umnak Island. It's got like hot springs and geysers on it, some very unique geology, and there's only like 40 people living on the island. It's crazy. So type in Umnak Island, type in Attu Island, start learning about the Aleutian Islands. And there are some small military bases in the Aleutian Islands too, some very remote Coast Guard stations and air bases. Guys, very interesting stuff going on in the Aleutian Islands. Very interesting history, and then some weird stuff going on lately. I do think it's becoming a focus point, a friction point, and in the coming weeks and months, you're going to be reading more about things going on in the Aleutian Islands. So if you want to stay ahead of everyone, go ahead and do a deep dive on it. It's really interesting anyway. You can check out St. Lawrence Island in the Bering Sea between Alaska and Russia, kind of similar to Niihau, the forbidden Hawaiian island. You have the St. Lawrence Island where only native Alaskans are allowed to go. You have to go there only by invite. You're not allowed to go there otherwise unless you're invited. These are very cut off societies that are kind of carrying on with their way of life. It's super interesting, guys. So I did a little deep dive on St. Lawrence Island and the permanent population there. And that might be, St. Lawrence Island actually might be the longest permanent settlement in North America of people, because we came over the land bridge and we have fossil records going back thousands and thousands and thousands of years of people living in the Aleutian Islands, and how we kind of came over that land bridge and then down into North America and then down into South America. People think the oldest settlement in North America is like St. Augustine, which is in Florida. The Spanish had it. Or maybe they think it's like Plymouth Rock or Jamestown or Roanoke Island. But guys, check out the Aleutians. Check out St. Lawrence Island. It's very interesting. So pretty cool stuff. But I do think the Aleutian Islands are going to become kind of a focus point, and Hawaii has been. So that kind of region, I wanted to give you guys my perspective on, a little down and dirty on the Aleutian Island chain, the Hawaiian Island chain. Very interesting places. Totally check them out, you guys. Twitter rebrand. Okay, so Elon changed Twitter. I liked Twitter kind of the way it was, but I also know better than to bet against the richest man on the planet. If you bet against Elon, well, how'd that go for you? So I'm not going to sit here and bash Elon, because it's like, if you were to give your money to one person since you were born, it should have been Elon Musk. Like, facts are facts. Okay, Bitcoin and Tesla have ripped the face off of the market for the last like decade or so, so Elon Musk is trying this rebrand of Twitter to make it X, make it more his, build Elon world, right? I think he wants everything to be that X, guys. I think he wants you to drive your Elon car to your Elon smart house with the Elon solar panels to plug into your Elon Neuralink and post on your Elon X, you know what I mean? It's not tweeting anymore. Facts, it's posting now. We're done. And I liked tweeting because it turned it into a verb. That's like really good for branding. It's like my company Twitter, now you tweet. Guys, that's epic. And they should have done that, but they didn't. So Elon's gone through a bit of a rough rebranding, but hey, whatever. I like Twitter. I like X. I'm along for the ride. And we're just going to kind of have to see where that goes. But yeah, we just went through a Twitter rebrand, and I'm not too much of a hater. I preferred the bird. I liked the bird logo. I liked the tweeting. I like Twitter. But, again, I think I know what's best. Dude, this guy, bet against him, see what happens. And don't own what he likes and see what happens. It probably doesn't work out for you. It's like being an Amazon, Google, or Apple hater. It's like, how'd that go? Yeah. So you suck at investing? I'm just joking. But you see kind of what I'm saying? McConnell had like a mini stroke. Mitch McConnell had like a mini stroke the other day, okay? It was really weird. Type in Mitch McConnell mini stroke live TV. Guys, they got to pass the torch, okay? Dianne Feinstein, Mitch McConnell, these people are way too old. And this whole well, it's your fault. You keep voting them into power. Dude, old man's got to go, okay? Old lady's got to go. When you're like 100, you don't have the mental faculties, okay? And that's not even ageism, okay? It's not. It's just like anatomy and physiology. Like, I don't expect y'all to let me run the country when I'm 100. I hope you cap me at like 60 for something like that. I hope when I'm 65, I'm at home like watching golf, like hanging out with my grandkids, you know what I mean? This whole like run the planet till you're 100. These people have a vice grip. These power structures have a vice grip, and they're unwilling to relinquish their power. Telling and pretty disgusting. But you should watch Mitch McConnell's mini strokes. I think that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just having a 5-minute long brain fart. And I'm not trying to knock the dude too hard. I just wish he would go home and retire and not destroy this country and destroy his legacy. So great. You did your thing. Thank you for your service. Go home. Like, seriously, dude, you're about to mess up everything. Aliens, oh my gosh. So the government's now admitting that they recovered biologics in the crashed alien spacecraft. Guys, that's epic. I don't really know, though, what I'm supposed to believe. I think half of these UAPs and UFOs we're seeing really is Lockheed Martin, Boeing. It's skunk works, okay? But maybe the other half could be aliens. Maybe the aliens did crash here, maybe in Roswell, maybe 10,000 years ago, and somebody dug it up and our government took it, back engineered it, and now half the alien crafts you're seeing are really Raytheon or Lockheed Martin or Boeing. But maybe not. Kind of goes back to that directional energy weapon that the conspiracy theorists are pushing. Go on YouTube and type in whistleblower Antarctica Raytheon and check out the Sean Ryan show. He had a whistleblower come on and talk about the directed energy weapon base down at the South Pole, Raytheon, working for Raytheon. He said that the earthquake in Christchurch was created by it, and that's why these conspiracy theorists are saying it was a directional energy weapon shooting a beam down and lighting all the fires in Maui because they want to burn out all the local population, replace it with like smart Maui, have the billionaires buy the other half of Maui, because half of it's already owned by like Oprah Winfrey and Obama, but you know what I mean? So the WEF, the World Economic Forum's the power that be, according to the conspiracy theorists, want to use directional energy weapons to start fires in Hawaii, burn everybody out, come in, buy everything, and flip it, BlackRock style, like they're doing, like BlackRock's doing with Ukraine right now. So maybe we have these directed energy weapons. Maybe these UFOs, these aliens, these UAPs, maybe it's skunk works, but maybe also the aliens are real. So it's and both. Maybe we have 68 alien species like watching us, and you might be saying, well, I can't see them, where are they? Okay, well, if I took you and I put you in a cage and I said, now start the scientific process to figure out where you are and what's going on. Well, conducting the scientific process can be very difficult for you because you're the rat in the cage being studied. So I think it's similar concept applies. We're kind of the rats in the cage, and we can't see the aliens, but they can see us, similar to how a biologist might study an anthill, and he has a pretty good idea what's going on with the ants, but the ants don't really study the biologists. They have no idea what's going on. I'm not calling us ants, but I'm saying relative to a type 2, 3, 4 civilization, yeah, we're totally ants. We're adorable. And then you might be like, oh, well, if we're that pointless and we're just ants, why would the aliens even want to come? Because we're so boring. Well, have you noticed that there's tons of really smart humans that are completely enamored with ants and they want to study them all day long? So this whole like, well, the aliens, they don't even care that we exist. Yeah, they do. Same way we study zebra clams all day long, and ants and rats in cages. The aliens are totally maybe studying us and interested in us, and we're just kind of the rat in the cage, so we can't really figure out what's going on. So, you know, and as soon as the government tells me they have aliens, well, now I don't want to believe in aliens, right? Like, aliens were real until the government said they were. You know what I mean? So I don't know what's going on with that, guys. Psyops are real, though. And then I'm going to leave you off on this protest music. So check out the song Rich Men of North Richmond. It's going viral. This like off-grid farmer in Virginia put out this song, and I really think it speaks to some of the things we've discussed here today. So I hope you guys have a chance to take a look at it. I'm calling it now. We're looking at a decade of protest music, okay, guys? So I really do think in the next decade we're going to see that Woody Guthrie, you know, this machine kills fascist written on his guitar from the 1930s. Woody Guthrie, look him up, or Jimi Hendrix from the 1970s. Guys, let's bring back some protest music. Let's start speaking truth to power, okay? These artists have really been asleep at the wheel, given all the things that I've discussed even today and in past videos. So let's get some protest music. Let's fight the man with our music. Check out the song Rich Men of North Richmond, going viral. And, you know, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But just, you know, something you can check out. Well, this is really all I got for you guys today. Hopefully I don't get shadow banned. You know, we live and die by the algorithm, but hey, it is what it is. And we're just going to carry on with the plan of life, you guys. I hope you've been well, and we're just going to keep going. You know, don't get beaten down by these things. I know we always talk about death and infinity, but it's going to be okay. It's always been crazy, right? We're just along for the ride. Our feet are taped to the bike on this. And hey, at least we get to hang out, you know, enjoy the sunset together. And at least you guys can know I'm not selling you anything, you know. I'm just giving you my thoughts, giving you my perspective. I'm not going to church it up because I'm going to lose the sponsorship I don't have. You know, it's just me framing everything for you guys, giving you my thoughts, my opinions. I could totally be wrong. And take it or leave it, right? Till next time.